We are going, we were together in the same bus to go to the climate action. Yes, okay. So the micro is, and it's why I saw you running. I was in the same situation as you.
So nice to have met you in the bus first. I saw him here. I was wondering how he got here before me. So maybe he can teleport. So nice to see all of you here. My name is Prachi Shevgaonkar. I'm the founder of an app for climate action called Cool the Globe. It is especially an honor to be here because I remember entering COP27 and realizing that all of us have gathered here today to try and figure out how we can save the world through technology. And that's extraordinary. But do you remember why you are here? Why do you do what you do? I'm sure each one of you who are sitting here today have a very interesting story for why you got here and why you started working in this space in the first place. So let me start by telling you about my story. When I was 10 or 12 years old, I remember my school teacher gave me an interesting homework. She asked me to write a letter to my future self. 10 years from now, where would I want to be and who would I want to be? Now I wrote that letter and then completely forgot about it. And now 10 years later, I was at a very decisive point in life. I had to decide which career I was going to choose. And have any of you been to India before? Have you been to India? Yes. So all of you who've been to India might know that most of us Indians end up becoming either doctors or engineers. Now everyone in my family is an engineer, and I was about to become one too. But then I kept feeling like something isn't right. There's something more that I want to do. And that's when something interesting happened. My school teacher sent that letter back to me. The letter that I had written 10 years ago to my older self. And reading it was like a wake-up call. Because in it, I had written about changing the world and making an impact. And I had not thought that way in a very long time. So I got inspired by the words and the dreams of my younger self. And I began wondering what it is that an ordinary girl like me do to fight the big problems in the world. So one of the first things I did was to Google, what is the biggest problem in the world right now? Any guesses what came up? Yes, so climate change came up. And I saw that all the scientists, innovators, big organizations in the world like UNFCCC, they were all talking about how climate change is the most pressing problem in front of us today. But then why is it that my friends around me weren't talking about it? So I started reading up more about it. I read about coastal erosion, rising sea levels, changing temperatures, changing Indian monsoon, and I got really worried. But then I had a moment of honesty with myself, and I asked a simple question that I want to ask you today as well. How many of you care about climate change? Let's raise hands. I'm sure all of you do. But you'd be surprised when I ask this question back home, very few hands go up. And the only reason I wanted to ask that to you today was because for the first time I wanted to see a full house raising their hands up to this question. But I hadn't reached there yet when I asked myself that question. I had a moment of honesty with myself, and I thought, I don't think I care enough about this. I had enough on my plate. I was still in college. I had friends to make and extracurriculars, exams to give. I saw enough problems in front of me also, from poverty to gender issues to inequality. And I thought climate change is happening somewhere else, to somebody else, at some other part of the world. Why would I care about polar ice melting somewhere else? So I decided to think about my part of the world. And I took a year off to try and work in areas other than climate change. So I spent a few months traveling with farmers across my district, Maharashtra. I spent some months with waste workers, and they welcomed me in their homes and their workplaces. I spent some time with children. And it is when I did that I happened to meet some very real voices behind these catastrophic impacts of climate change. And I want to tell you about one of them today. So I was making a film on children and what their dreams look like. And I met a 12-year-old boy in a slum not very far from my home. And when I met him, I asked him a simple question. If you could get one wish and you can ask for anything in the world, what would you ask for? I would never forget his answer. He said, I would wish that my house wouldn't get flooded like it did last year. Now, that was the first time I realized that climate change is not about these big words that I read in the newspaper. As extreme weather events happen more frequently and more intensely, it can also mean that a 12-year-old boy like him has to worry about something as basic as a shelter above his head. And this I cared about. And as I traveled more, I met more and more people and realized that he is not alone. I also realized that as ordinary citizens, we care about very simple things. And so I want to ask you here, we've all gathered here today to address climate change. But forget about climate change for a minute. What do you care the most about in your day-to-day life? Give me some answers. What do you think you care the most about in your day-to-day life? Your family? Absolutely. Anything else? What do you care about? Social media? So do I. Okay. Who else? Any other answers? What do you care the most about? Oh, that's so nice. That's so interesting. Your garden and your cat. Wow. So I asked this question to more and more people around me, and the answers that I got were always similar. I realized that as ordinary citizens, we care about very simple things. We care about our homes, we care about our food, we care about our jobs and our livelihoods, and most importantly, we care about our family and the people around us. And gradually, as I went on ground to find work other than climate change, that I realized that climate change impacts all of these areas. And when I realized that it impacts the things I care about, that's when I asked myself the second question. What is it then that I can do about climate change? But that was a difficult one to answer. I didn't really know what can I do. So I went to my father and I asked him, what do you think an ordinary person like me can do about a big problem like this? And we decided as a family to take up a simple quest. We decided to try and reduce our own greenhouse gas emissions by 10% every year. And so I started researching on which actions of mine are leading to most emissions. Do we have any answers? Which actions of yours in your day-to-day life lead to most emissions? What do you? Heating, absolutely. What else? Cooling. Yes. As we cool, we also heat the world. Yes. Yes. So I started looking at, yes, you had an answer? Food, absolutely, right. So I started looking for which are the areas in my life that are leading to most emissions. And how can I measure that? Because only when I realize the impact of my actions would I want to do something about it. And so we started doing this, and a few months later, something interesting happened, which is that I began to enjoy it. It felt good that at least at my own level, I was doing something. It almost became like a fun activity that I was doing with my family. And the second interesting thing was that my friends, my relatives, people around me began to take notice and ask how they could join us in this quest. So I began thinking about how can we mobilize global citizens with me on this individual quest I've taken on to reduce my own greenhouse gas emissions by 10% every year. And from this, the idea for Cool the Globe app was born. We decided to build an app to help people like you and I reduce our own emissions to a target. Now, I started thinking, not just climate action, but if I want to achieve anything at all, what are some things that I need? Let me ask you, what do you think, what are some of the things that we need to achieve any goal? What do you think? Determination, funding. The most important one came right away. What else? Hard work, absolutely. Anything else? Sorry? Targets, absolutely, yes. So this is what I realize as well, that I first need a clear target, a goal in front of me. And then I need to be able to measure my progress on that target. So that's how we build the app as well. As soon as a user comes in, they're given a monthly target to reduce their own greenhouse gas emissions. And then they can see hundreds of simple day-to-day actions they can take and the emissions they avoided by doing that. But then people started coming and asking, what difference can one person make? We believe that then when there are a lot of people like us coming together, then our collective impact can be very big. And to show that, we kept a global meter on the homepage of the app, which would show the emissions avoided by everyone combined. And that's the power of collective action. Now, throughout my college years, I worked on building this app. And by the time I graduated, it was launched. And that's when I realized that the real work starts now. We have this platform, but the real work is in bringing people on it. The real work is in convincing citizens that in the face of climate change, our actions matter and we can make a difference. And so we started making simple video campaigns from my dorm room on what the common man can do about climate change. And what happened next was something I could have never imagined. People shared them with each other, and they shared them with even more friends. And before we knew it, over 4 million people from around the world were watching our dream for climate action. Through citizen-led grassroots movements like this, today we have users from 110 countries, and they've collectively avoided over 2 million kg of greenhouse gas emissions. But this is just the beginning. The most rewarding part for me of this work is being able to get to meet ordinary people from corners of the world. The other day, a 9-year-old girl emailed me, and she said, I don't have a phone yet, but I still want to be a part of this movement. And what change can I make in my own life to fight climate change? An 86-year-old woman called me and said that she had her granddaughter's wedding and she was going to buy new saris. Do you know what a sari is? Yes? Okay. I was going to wear one today to show you. But she was going to buy new saris for the event. Instead, she decided to reuse her own saris from her own wedding and recorded 15 kg of avoided emissions in the app by doing that. So as I meet people like this from around the world, I'm realizing that real change lies in the hands of us, the ordinary citizens. When I was in school, I used to think that I was born in a very boring time. You know, I used to read about the freedom fighters and the scientists and the innovators, and I used to think, why wasn't I born then? Today, after starting to work on climate change, I realized that I find myself at the cusp of my youth in perhaps some of the most defining decades of human existence. My actions today are going to impact generations to come. And this is not just a responsibility, but it's an opportunity to make an impact. It's an opportunity for all of us to change the world from our own homes. And so thank you so much for listening to me today. I want to go back to the question that I asked you in the beginning, if you remember. Why do you do what you do? And why are you here today? So I want to hear from some of you because that will inspire me. And the second part that I want to hear from you is how can we all work together to help cool the globe? Yes.
No, thank you. I think these are very inspiring words. And the fact that you share your experience is extremely good because you inspire us, and then we will also do the same and inspire others. I think it's really fantastic, and this mindset of contributor, of solution provider is exactly what we need. We need people that are willing to contribute. We need people that are willing to bring solution, that are solution provider. And at your question, why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I want to serve people. That's very important for me. Knowing that I can contribute in providing solution to people is central to my life. This is what motivates me more than anything else. Generally, I'm going at office on Saturday and Sunday. And my family, they are not happy with that. They're telling me, but why are you going at office on Saturday and Sunday? And my neighbor is also from the UNFCCC. They told me, look, our neighbor is not going at office on Saturday and Sunday. Why are you doing it? I say, okay, I'm doing it because for me, this is what gives a sense to my life. I want to feel that I'm contributing to serving people, and I'm not doing it because this is mandatory. I'm not doing it because I want my supervisor to be happy with me. I'm doing it because this is what makes me happy. This is my life. Somebody else?
I just wanted to, first of all, thank you very much, and really encouraging and inspiring to hear your enthusiasm and the innovation that you bring. It's extremely important, as you said. It's beyond a job, beyond an activity, so it's full of meaning, and what you have done is extremely powerful. And we hope that you can expand it and mobilize the support that it deserves. So thank you very much, Prachi, for coming here, for sharing this experience with us. I wish you all the very best.